generation have worked tirelessly to help and establish our community in the early 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. And we have encountered many things which you will see in the slideshow. We know for a fact that we wanted to talk about many more community leaders, but it's not possible to talk in one day, all of them. So maybe we will do another event in the future to talk about other people. And also our staff is carrying the research to find out.
Connection for organizing this. I wasn't really sure you can have so many people on a cold, dark evening, but it just shows the importance of this issue. What I'm going to say is one point of view. It's a view that I think some of you may agree with it, some of you may disagree with, but there are a number of prominent people I can see in this room who have played significant role in our journey to be here today. Whether it's Jalal, whether it's Bai, whether it's Usman. I'm not going to name everyone else, my apology, because I could name everyone else. Amongst those heroes, and I will not be able to talk about everyone, but the 4 heroes who touched my life and my political growth and journey have been, and I'm going to select 4, but I have worked in one capacity or another with all of the ones that you mentioned, in your pamphlet. But first I would like to mention Ahmed Fakhruddin, a man, a gentleman, a man of no greed, a man who never sought publicity and glory like some of us do nowadays. A man who never had any ambition for him. That's the kind of man who have built our community, and I think it's important and it's fitting that we have named a state after him on Balance Road. Many of you will see. Britain, whether it was in the colonial days, whether it was during the British Empire, has always discriminated and acted in many instances of racism, where they have denied the rights, denied opportunities, and where they have exploited people, whether through the slavery trade or from transporting Indians to colonize African countries.
This project starts from 1950 to 2000. I thought I might go back a couple of decades back, so I'm talking about 1930s and 40s. Good. And the reason I'm doing that is because I believe our community stems from the very first Bengalis who came here, who were seafarers, known as Lashkars to us. And it kind of started with the colonial connection between UK and Bengal and India, obviously with the East India Company going over to India to trade. The ships that the East India Company used to bring back goods from Bengal, i.e. tea, jute and spices, they would employ local seafarers, South Asian seafarers. And of those seafarers, most of them were of Bengali origin. Those seafarers would settle where the ships would dock. So the ships would dock at Bristol, Liverpool, Cardiff, and obviously East London because of St. Catherine docks, Tilbury docks, and East India docks. And if you look at history, you'll find that there was a small community in and around Sheffield, Wapping, and Cable Street. In fact, the community was much bigger in and around Cannon Street Road before Brick Lane. And I think community started to go towards Brick Lane after 1970, probably, yeah. And one of those pioneering seafarers that the council honoured and celebrated last week was Ayub Ali Master, who came to UK in 1920, lived in Sandys Row, had opened a couple of cafes on Commercial Road and Commercial Street. And in 1943, he had formed the Indian Welfare Seamen's League. And if I'm correct, this might be the first Bengali community organizing. He had formed that for the welfare of his fellow countrymen who had come here and who were perhaps looking for accommodation,
understand now, right? And we are kind of more confident. And many young people I come across, they say they don't know anything about, or they hardly know anything about the past. When you mention about the hardship and the struggles and the achievements these young people made, they organized and so on. So this project is about recording, and also trying to look at records and evidence, right, in archives and in the councils and in people's homes. They will have lots of videos and pictures and documents and letters and so on. It's very important, that we collect as much as possible, so that future generation can develop an evidence-based understanding of how this community struggled in the face of so much odds, right? And they have achieved so much.
Which has been very close to my heart for a long time, and in order to do a project of the sort, believe me, it's not easy. Whenever we wanted to do something accurate related to our past history, achievements, it comes with a very hefty cost, or people who either transform or reform the actual or true stories. And that's the reason why I wanted to record and archive people who have made significant contribution in developing and settling the Bangladeshi communities in Tower Hamlets. In doing so, I can tell you this, we had so many struggles. Often politicians or people in authority or people in power threaten us not to do A, B, C, because it's going to undermine them, it's going to undermine their work. But I think it's important, before we talk about celebration, we need to record our struggles and strides. And then we come to celebration. And as I said, what sickened me, what made me very frustrated and upset, seeing stories are being reformed or transformed purely for my own sake to be on the record. If I haven't done anything for the community, why should I be on the record fakely or falsely? And that's exactly what's happening. New media, new digital era means new stories emerging which has no basis whatsoever. Obviously, this is a small micro project we are doing and hoping to conclude it soon. We are planning to do a mega macro project and to have a wider brief and scope to include everything that our community went through. Please help and cooperate with us. We, the Bangladeshis, are very good at criticizing or finding issues which have no relevance whatsoever. But when it comes to histories of the sort, we need to be accurate, true, and as honest as we may possibly can, because time is running. Charles Darwin talks about evolution. If I can refer you, Adiyogi talks about evolution about 14,000 years ago, because Charles Darwin was an Englishman. He was put on the record. We are monkeys. Are we monkeys? I don't think we are monkeys, but that's how the evolution process defined and explained us. Again, cooperation and helping hands would enable us to do a better and bigger project in the future.
Our final speaker, Badrul, is the Secretary of the Trust and voluntarily managing, directing and coordinating the project. Dula is our project director, and he has already introduced himself. He, as I said earlier, the Dula has trained 15 volunteers and who is doing the research and carrying out the writing of the stories and strides. Our book writing program in its final stage and hope to produce it by March 2026. That's the target. We wanted to thank our volunteers who have done a lot of work and still working, compiling the information and completing the book. One most important announcement, that the EEC project is being funded by National Lottery Heritage Fund, and they have supported the EEC and the Skeptic Community Trust writing several books, and we would like to acknowledge their support and hard work. Some of the pictures you have seen in the slideshow and in the brochure is being supplied by Trevor Phillips and David Hoffman, and the report compiled by Jalal White. And we must acknowledge his contribution. Thank you very much. Okay, now we would like to ask any individual who wanted to make contribution, discuss about any individual, more than welcome. And of course, it's said there that he had a restaurant where people used to get support in terms of employment, support, and so on. So Abdul Muttalib Chaudhry obviously is someone we know very carefully. Ashik Ali, who was, it's been said here that he came here to study Bharat law. However, he completed and he worked for the HMRC, and later he was involved in local politics in Labour Party, and I think 1984, 82 or 83, he became 86. He became the first Bengali councillor from St. Catherine Ward. And Ashik Ali was nominated by the Labour Party and he became councillor, and he's been a councillor for 2 terms. I don't want to challenge or dispute. We talked about Bibi Chaudhry, although his surgery wasn't here, but his surgery was in Plaistow. But like Ansar said, you call him, he's here at night, 24 hours. But he has other vision of the community work. He was involved with the Tower Hamlets CRC, which anyway, let's not talk about it. But his contribution, we acknowledge as well. Other people have been talked about, Caroline Adam and Peter Rist. I don't want to. Ghulam Mustafa. Again, Ghulam Mustafa made significant contribution at that time, and he had a leather factory. But when you call him or when there is a need, Ghulam Mustafa always been there. He was part of the welfare association, and he was part of the Brick Lane Mosque. Haji Nisar Ali is someone who had been working quite long time. His restaurant was in New Road. Is it Jorna or Nirala? Okay. And whenever there is a people, I know from the story of Caroline Adams' book, whenever these people come from Bangladesh or elsewhere, they have nowhere to go. They doesn't have clothes, doesn't have money, doesn't have food. So where to go? New Road Restaurant. So Nisar Ali Shah will provide clothes, food, employment, and everything else. So these are the kind of contribution people made, and that's why we think we wanted to remember their contribution to us. For example, he might have contributed to my father. My father invited me to be here, and I am doing something. So I acknowledge their contribution. Haji Toyibur Rahman, I've seen him. Again, he's been part of the welfare as well as mosque, and he was part of a local business, and I've seen many demonstrations where he taken part, including the petition to the number 10 Downing Street. One of the persons we didn't talk much about, Lily Khan. Lily Khan was probably one of the first Bengali women to be employed by Tower Hamlets Adult Education Institute, and her role was started from years old, English support, employment, and so on. And she was employed there for about 30-35 years and made significant contribution as a result. So there are various numbers. Some people work in teaching, some people work in youth work, some in restaurants, some in other things. Malasan, we have already talked about. Nurul Shah, his significant contribution is Bangla School. It was in Middlesex Street, and he and his wife have made a few generations helping them to learn Bengali as well as English. That was his main thing. Shamsuddin is another guy who we know very closely. He was probably, Ansar said he was the first chairman of the youth association, and they were part of the demonstration against racism, fascism, and they were physically fighting when there was needed. So we acknowledge their contribution too.